Understand the models. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm going to continue covering, because I stepped into it. But let me continue to evolve this. What happens next? Okay, when you have programs come up with rosy pitches and many of them outlast their expected death date, they should have expired, but they didn't. The problem you've got to follow is exactly what you would think comes next. The people who are close enough to understanding what's going on, because they were part of those systems, or partners, or they were just there at the time, and they saw them unfold, and they watched them begin to die, and they saw them bounce back, which may have confused many of them at first. It's like, how can they get away with that? Becomes the new phrase for these guys. And the answer is because it's the wild, wild web. You can do a whole lot. That you wouldn't ordinarily be able to do with a brick and mortar business. So now you have new guys who watch the models turning profitable, especially because no one's really doing work in the background. The numbers are inflated, they're not real. The testimonials are faked, they're not real, and so on and so forth. And yet people are buying on excitement. See, the only way to sell a false system with inflated everything is to lead away from logic and quit selling a thing logically, or as though you were an academic or a teacher, and start teaching it by pitching it at you with more and more excitement. Your assumption is, if they're excited, there's got to be money in it, and I want to be part of that. Their excitement isn't that simple. It's sure they're making a lot of money, but not the way they say they are. Their excitement is realizing that they get to be an actor or an actress. They're standing on stage and they are giving you a show. And you're literally paying an entrance fee for their show. Because if you buy it on emotion instead of logic, then when you wake up tomorrow morning, being the proud owner of the thing, it's just sitting there. You bought it on emotion instead of logic. So when you wake up the next day and all sorts of dreams and other thoughts cross your mind, somebody calls or whatever, then it goes into the realm of out of sight, out of mind for a while. And then often it just sits there. How many of you have bought programs basically because you needed the ownership? Okay, give you a different kind of example. I felt one day like I needed to get in better shape. And yet I didn't want to get very far away from my computer. I knew I needed to go jog, but I didn't want to get far away from my computer. So I went out and bought a treadmill, an $1,100 treadmill. I had them ship it and set it up in a corner of my living room. All right, living room in that office. My office was actually a second apartment in the same apartment complex we lived in. And I remember the phrase that came out of my mouth. It wasn't what it should have been. When I got that thing and it was all set up, turned it on, saw it run, I should have said, okay, I've got my treadmill now. And so I'm going to start exercising on it. Instead, what I said was, okay, I've got my treadmill. And it proceeded to collect dust ever since. It just sat there. Ownership, right? You sort of need to hoard it. And so if you're sold on emotion, it's the wrong motivator most of the time for most of us. Most of the time, if it's sold on emotion, instead of logic or passion, I will separate passion. Guys like me, I don't sound excited. You never hear me sort of pitching the phrase, you're going to make a lot of money here. And you will. If you're serious about our stuff, you will. But I don't hard sell like that. I soft sell much more intensely than I hard sell. You don't hear that wild excitement. What you hear is passion. I'm passionate about the things I develop because they're interesting to me, because they work and they do things that are real, that cut through all this crap we're going over now. Okay? But logic, passion, different than just straight at emotion. How often do you hear a guy start a pitch with, once I was just like you? And then he goes on this long harangue for half an hour about how he was living out of his car, how he was eating out of a tin can, how he walked around barefoot, usually through broken glass in the back alley, just to keep the cops from throwing him in jail. The only job he had was begging people to sweep their front walks or shine their shoes. And he goes on and on and on this way. And you sort of fall into wanting to hear it, because the trick here is simple. It's association. It's, I can understand him. If it worked for him, it can work for me because he was where I am, right? If he can do it, I can, because he's just like me, right? So anyway, this goes bad. So the other people, tangential, start to realize that the first people are flat out lying. And you know what they do? They do a little studying, and then they realize that they can do the same thing. Some of them realize they can do it better. And so they go do the same thing and do it better. And the whole blasted thing is sold on excitement. When you hit pages and they're just screaming excitement at you, figure it's probably false. Okay? Now, when I talk about things like why website traffic exchanges don't work, when I talk about things like why safe lists don't work, when I talk about things like FFAs, when I talk about why software you bought worked for the first few days and then failed later, okay? Understand not a list that you write down. Website traffic exchangers, scratch it out, strike through. Safe lists, and you strike it through. Don't do that, because it's not going to tell you anything you need to know about the future stuff you're going to find out there that doesn't have a name right now. You need to recognize that most everything on the internet these days is a spin-off. All right? It's not true that if there are 100 safe lists, one of them has got to be legitimate. Not at all true. There used to be that truth. Not anymore. What you find is when one person created an idea, most of the time the whole idea went outmoded. But what you find, and maybe one or two managed to flourish for some reason. They came up with some new twist to the theme that did work. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, for those one or two that do, it doesn't mean that they're on the front page of Google when you do a search for safe lists. Trust me. One or two do. But for those that do, there's this whole mass load that are false, because a bunch of people figured out how to create programs that say all this stuff. They sort of become experts at 10,000 hours plus at how those systems sell and how they're set up, and how to hide the fact from you that your stuff never came through. And for instance, you ever join a safe list and you're sending emails out, and you're sending emails through the safe list, hundreds of thousands of people, and you have no idea if anyone read any of them. And if you ask the owner of the safe list, hey, do you have a back office that can show how many people read mine? Chances are he'll say, actually, no, it's just too hard to program, or yes, we're going to do it one day. Both answers are identical, different words, different way of holding you at bay. Or you're going to hear something like, yes, we have one. And that's worse, because if that blasted thing ever does show that you're getting a bunch of hits, it's a lie. Somebody is clicking away on the links that come through just to make it seem like it's you. I went to a hype rating program once and saw a bunch of bouncing smiling icons across each of the hypes there. And I started hovering over the smiling icons, and sure enough, my IP address was showing up in a bunch of those places. Somehow I was voting on particular hypes as being great paying hypes. And yet I was in none of them. None of them. And that's because the owner just realized, how can you verify the information? You would not know who to contact to verify the IP address. You would know who to contact to verify the hits that are claimed to be happening on the safe list, so on and so forth. Okay? When guys say that they're going to guarantee mailing you out 5 or 10,000 emails, all right, to targeted people, it's not true. But what they know is you can't verify that anyone got any of them. When guys say that they can get you 1,000 guaranteed signups and people start signing up, notice carefully the email addresses. A lot of them are going to say NARC, N-O-R-C, or N-A-R-C. At least there was a time that happened, and a lot of them are going to come out of China, say. And you're going to slowly understand that when you paid this guy 30 bucks to get you 5,000 guaranteed visitors, he has an affiliate system somewhere, a lot like pay to read email, where people are signing up to programs for a penny each. You paid him 30 and he pays out 15 into this affiliate system. That a lot of the guys are in China. They can handle $10 to $15 a day incomes. If they can get it, they're happy as a blue blazes. All right? And so there's whole massloads of people who are signing up to your programs who are never going to look at it again. They sign up through a bulk email service. I guarantee you, here's the way to start to check that. Try to contact these people that signed up to your program. Respond to the email address with, I don't care, a free gift. First guy to respond to me gets $100. You know what you're going to find? Dead silence. No one's there. No one's looking. No one's interested.